Simple definition of nervous system is, the nervous system is a complex network of nerves and cells that carry messages to and from the brain and spinal cord to various parts of the body. For better understanding, we will see an example. Now you will have to follow some instructions and you can observe how our nervous system works. Let's start. Turn to your left side and you will see a human body with a nervous system in it. Great, so as you can see, once you heard the first instruction, you can see how your body responded. First you heard the instruction through ears, then this information is carried through cells to the brain. As soon as your brain receives this information, it gives instruction to eyes and the spinal cord to turn to your left side. Now there is a cube placed on the hovering platform, can you see it? Now as you see, you heard the instruction through ears, then this information is carried through cells to the brain. Next your brain has given instruction to eyes to find the cube. As you found cube, then your eyes sends feedback to brain. Okay, now you have to go near the table and pick up the cube. Now once you hear the instruction, your brain sends an order to your hands and your legs to move towards the table as your eyes are guiding you. Once you reach there, your brain sends a message to hands to move forward and grab the cube with the help of fingers. Okay, now you have to drop the cube. Now, once you heard the instruction, your brain sends order to your hand and fingers to release the cube. Yeah, now we have understood the overview of how our nervous system works. Let's dive deeper into learning nervous system further. Brain is found inside cranium part of the skull. There are 6 main sections among other structures within it, such as cerebrum, cerebellum, diencephalon, midbrain, pons and medulla oblongata. Let's look at the cerebrum. Cerebrum, which is the largest section, it is divided into 2 hemispheres such as right and left. Cerebrum further divided into 4 lobes, such as frontal, parietal, temporal, occipital. Frontal lobe is responsible for reasoning and thoughts. Parietal is responsible for integrating sensory info. Temporal lobe is responsible for processing auditory info from the ears. And occipital lobe is responsible for processing visual information from the eyes. Let's look at the cerebellum. Cerebellum located below the cerebrum and above the first cervical of the neck, it is responsible for muscle coordination, balance, posture, and muscle tone. Midbrain section is located below the cerebrum. It is responsible for eye and auditory reflexes. Pons is located below the midbrain and in the brainstem. It is responsible for certain reflex actions such as tasting, chewing and saliva production. Medulla oblongata located at the bottom of the brain stem. It is lowest part of the brain stem which connects to the spinal cord. It is responsible for heart and blood vessel function, digestion, respiration, swallowing, coughing, sneezing, blood pressure. It is also known as center for respiration. Spinal cord is surrounded by rings of bones called vertebrae. Main job of the spinal cord is to be the communication system between the brain and the body by carrying messages that allow us to move and feel sensation. Our spinal nerve cells called neurons carry the messages to and from the spinal cord. Vertebrae are grouped into the sections according to their locations. First section contains 7 vertebrae in the neck called cervical vertebrae, next 12 vertebrae called as thoracic vertebrae, and the next ones are called lumbar vertebrae, which are in the lower back, between thoracic vertebrae where the ribs attach to the pelvis or hip bone. The autonomic nervous system or ANS is the part of the nervous system that regulates activities of internal organs. It controls glands, smooth muscles and cardiac muscle. It is largely autonomous, acting independently of the body's consciousness and voluntary control. The autonomic nervous system has 2 main divisions: sympathetic nervous system and parasympathetic nervous system. Let's look at the sympathetic nervous system. In situations that require alertness and energy, such as facing dangers and doing physical activities, autonomic nervous system activates its sympathetic division, which mobilizes body for action. This division increases cardiac output, accelerate respiratory rate, releases stored energy and dilate pupils. At the same time, it also inhibits body processes that are less important in emergencies, such as digestion and urination. It is also known as fight or flight response. Now let's look at the parasympathetic nervous system. In ordinary situations such as resting, the parasympathetic division gets activated, which conserves and restores. It slows heartbeats, decreases respiratory waves, stimulates digestion, removes waste and stores energy. It is also known as rest and digest. Let's look at nerve pathway. Autonomic nerve pathways from control center of the central nervous system to the target organs are composed of 2 neurons, which meet and synapse with an autonomic ganglion. These neurons are called preganglionic and postganglionic. In somatic nervous system, the preganglionic arise from thoracic and lumbar regions of the spinal cord, that is T1 to T12 bones. Their fibers exit by the way of spinal nerves to the nearby sympathetic chain of ganglia. Once in the chain, preganglionic fibers may follow any of 3 routes. Some synapse immediately with postganglionic neurons, some travel up or down in the chain before synapsing, and some pass through the chain without synapsing. This third group continues as splanchnic nerve to nearby collateral ganglia for synapsing instead. From the ganglia, long postganglionic fibers run all the way to the target organs. The somatic nervous system has high degree of neuronal diversions. One preganglionic fiber can synapse with up to 20 postganglionic neurons. Thus, effects of the somatic nervous system tend to be widespread. The somatic system is responsible for carrying motor and sensory information, both to and from the central nervous system. It is made up of nerves that connect to the skin, sensory organs and all skeletal muscles. It is also responsible for nearly all voluntary muscle movements, as well as sensory information that arrives via external stimuli, such as hearing, touch and sight. The structures that allow this communication to happen between the nerves throughout the body and the central nervous system are known as the afferent sensory neurons and efferent motor neurons. Afferent neurons take information from nerves to the central nervous system. Afferent means conducting inward. Efferent neurons take information from the central nervous system to the muscle fibers throughout the body. Efferent means conducting outward.